Welcome to the RDYTC. I'm your host, Paul Essen.
I'm Andrew Riley.
Travis Santa Hudson.
It's the last day of what?
Beer Advent!
And also regular Advent, but for our purposes, beer Advent.
Especially the beer. This is our last chance to see that whole thing come tumbling down. Come on.
He's being so gentle.
I know. Come on, don't do that.
Ha! Oh! And the glasses are still on the table. Come on, Paul. At least you have to get that, right?
It sounds familiar. What is it from?
Venkman in the hotel when they're trapped in Slimer. Yeah. All right. I think we're all looking forward to this. A Doppelbock Dunkel. This should be right up our alley.
I'm going to be drinking tonight the Kartäuser Doppelbock Dunkel, as Travis has just told us. This is a Doppelbock, which you understand a Bock is a bottom pulled beer and a Dunkel being a dark beer. This is a Doppelbock. Doppels tend to be even higher alcohol content, and this one comes through on that at 7.5% ABV. Very nice. It is coming from, I wrote down the city and I didn't make the notes.
It's in Bavaria. It's Bavarian.
It is Bavaria. It's to the northeast of Munich, which doesn't help me out because I took there we go. Großkulmbach. And as you can see in Paul's image there, although he's sort of fading out as he does it, this is a nice dark beer.
You know what our other highest ABV in this calendar was? 7.4.
So Travis is leaning towards liking this just on the alcohol content alone. While I pour mine, I also did some research on the saisons that was asked about yesterday. So a saison is a low alcohol, light body, high carbonation, and very dry beer, but it is subject to substantial interpretation. It does, in fact, mean season, as Travis was alluding to, for the French word for season. So it's a seasonal beer. The thing that it has, an interesting, this was a beer for farmers and workers to drink, so that's why the drinkability, it had to have a strong balance between its hops and its malts, and drinkability is always a focus, and the low alcohol content is also very important, which actually means it has an awful lot in common with the sessions that we talked about a couple of days ago as well.
Yeah, which is like, it can be confusing. You hear a saison and session. I wonder if there's a session saison.
They're different, but I don't know. I mean, they also seem very, very similar. So these are nuances of beers that I'm not enough of an expert to really dig into.
And also, according to my quick Wikipedia search, like apparently, I'm pretty sure the brewery called it a farmhouse saison or something like that. But apparently, saisons are also just known as farmhouse ales for all the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah, farmhouse ales and saisons get categorized together frequently. They're slightly different. There's some research I was doing. It's like, they're very, very similar. But why do they have different names? What does that even mean? What does a farmhouse ale mean? I don't know. These are things that are not well defined. These are descriptors that don't mean anything. They don't really reflect how the beer is coming around. The fact that it's open to so much interpretation means that it's not structured the way that, I can tell you the difference between a Hell and a Dunkel because it's very obvious.
You can see it.
That's a Dunkel, right? And the one we had yesterday, our Kellerbier, was a Hell because it was a light beer, even though it was a Kellerbier, which would tend to have been heavier in flavor. And we noticed that it was still light and drinkable, but more flavorful because of all of the additional content. The cloudiness gave it that extra level of flavor.
I like how the bubbles start and then they go up and they get absorbed into the head. I know that's probably how most beers are, but for some reason with the darkness of the beer, I really noticed pouring an extra part of how the fizz worked.
I did a soft pour for sure, but I am not getting much head at all. And I think that the amount of head that you've got, Travis, maybe my beer can was a little bit flat, which is a little disappointing.
I'm not sure about that. Like mine, I didn't get a lot of head either. Mine dissipated pretty quickly.
Sounds like personal problems, guys.
Not getting enough head. Travis, when you were introducing you're obsessed with calling it the Hyrulean beer, or the Zelda beer.
Yes.
I was really disappointed that you didn't go Ladenburger beer.
You've got a beer.
Yeah, you've got a beer.
My hat's not green, but yeah, that actually fit.
Yeah. spitting image of Link.
It's hilarious in the remake of Link's Awakening with all these like fancy graphics, and he still holds Marin up above his head when he rescues her or whatever happens, and when he picked her up over her head.
You got a Marin.
So, we can go back while we're drinking this to a topic of conversation from a couple days ago that we didn't actually finish. Video game romances and how the video game romances, especially excluding the Final Fantasies, are remarkably poor. But I put together 6 that I think are interesting, and not on any of the lists that we've discussed. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
So first up, going way, way, way back, we have Dirk the Daring and Daphne from Dragon's Lair.
Oh, Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna go with like Donkey Kong and like Peach or something, like going way, way back.
I mean, honestly, that's so.
Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man. There you go.
That was.
Have they ever actually been in the same video game? Are we sure that Ms. Pac-Man is not just Pac-Man as he's decided to go on his new life?
Is Pac-Man her dead name? It's actually Ms. Pac-Man now?
It could be.
Wow. That's not a plot twist I expected.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and put these into chronological order. So that was very, very old. Older but more recent would be Monkey and Trip from Enslaved.
I'm
they have
familiar
a very
with that.
interesting. It's tough to call it a true romance, but they really do care for each other by the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game that I always. That was a game I always wanted to play, but I never did. Yeah.
I put that ahead of Hellblade from the same developer because, and at least they're both still alive, right?
You could put any Hellblade on here.
I did not put Hellblade on here
Thank
for the
God.
fact that the boyfriend is dead, right?
It's like an insane woman and the love for her decapitated head.
So I mentioned previously, right away, one of the things I did think of was Life is Strange. Everyone in Life is Strange land is talking about Chloe and Rachel as the couple, the ticket, and that's from before the storm. But honestly, I think there is just as much energy in a more meaningful way that you have more control over the relationship between Chloe and Max. And Max is your playable character in Life is Strange.
Is Max a male?
No.
Okay. I was wondering if you're being a little like heteronormative here.
No, that is a heterosexual opposite homosexual relationship that is on this list.
All right.
Yeah, which is something like I didn't necessarily know about Life is Strange because I had been out of video games for a while when those games were coming out. But so when the one that just came out won some most inclusive award or something.
The Life is Strange series is very inclusive, as long as the people that you want to be included are the people that tend to be excluded. If you are a person who tends to be included, it's a little bit exclusive, if you understand what I'm saying.
Oh, there's
The
no straight white males in there for your liking?
I didn't say that at all. That's not what I said.
No, that's what you
That is the catch-22 of being inclusive in media, right? Yeah. You kind of wind up excluding what's normally...
My point was more towards the fact that when you get into Life is Strange Season 2, especially as the season goes further along, you get to episodes which are extremely anti-religion.
Ah. Okay.
That was the other option.
It's a little bit less anti-religion and more this anti-cult, which, fine. But it comes off as very anti-religion to someone who has any kind of religiosity. You can say, well, it's just this one cult. We're not talking about our religion. So you absolutely are, guys.
All right. It's the day before Christmas. Let's not talk about anti-religion.
Right. Moving on. I'm done with Life is Strange anyway. Another one. This one maybe actually been earlier. I'm trying to keep it in order, but it's tough. This is Prince of Persia, the 2008 game. You have your unnamed protagonist and Elika. It's actually a really strong relationship that gets built through the game, and I love that relationship.
So that's the remake where he runs on walls, right? You're talking about?
He does run on walls. It's not a remake because it is Prince of Persia with no additional information.
Reboot,
but it's,
I guess.
Yeah, complete reboot. Yeah, there's nothing in common with this and other Prince of Persias.
Right. It's the one the Jake Gyllenhaal movie was based off of.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, okay. I think that version of the Prince though is what it was based off of. Unless we are talking about different games, but okay.
Maybe. I would say if you have not played the 2008 Prince of Persia game, it's well worth playing. It is surprisingly good.
Okay, I'm thinking of Sands of Time. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes, I think that was the one that the Jake Gyllenhaal movie was based on.
Okay. All right, moving on.
So let's move on to some really more recent ones. I've got 2 more to go. So one fairly recent is the Tales from the Borderlands, where you have the relationship between Reese and Fiona. Reese is the corporate drone who's trying to make good for himself, and Fiona is a con woman, and they have a fantastic relationship. It does not get anywhere near truly romantic, but they both have clear feelings for each other.
Okay.
Didn't play it. Not familiar with it.
Oh, so
It's
ironically,
really good.
Ironically, I was just about to ask, there has to be some sort of good relationship with Telltale games? Then I realized this is the Telltale game for Borderlands, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Telltale Border. So if you like Borderlands, or if you like Telltale, or if you don't know if you like either one of those, but you think that you might be interested in it, this is the best place to start for both of them. It is probably the best Telltale game, even though we've talked, I think, elsewhere about the illusion of choice that Telltale games give you. It's on display just as much in this one. They do a good job of handling it. And if you don't like Borderlands, the Borderlands themes might be a little bit too heavy-handed, but if you are at all interested in either side of those, you're probably going to have a good time with that game.
I've played a number of the Borderland games, and for as many good things as I can say about them, I don't think they've really had a well-developed romance. And I haven't played the Tales from the Borderlands. It's one of the gaps in my experience.
I think
Walking
I would
Dead
assume
didn't really have any. I mean, I absolutely love the father-daughter kind of relationship between. I can't remember his name and Clementine. Lee and Clementine. Yes, thank you. That was one of the best relationships in a video game series ever, but it obviously not romantic. And there was really no well-developed romances in that game. Among Us, there was kind of some tension between the big bad wolf, and I can't remember his name, and
Big B
and Snow. Yeah, Big B. Thank you, Big B and Snow.
Okay, well, because I was gonna ask. I didn't play that game, but I read the comic, and in the comic they're together.
There's some tension in the game, but there's not really they're not together.
It seems clear that they want to be together, but the choices that Big Me has made before the game starts has prevented that from happening.
Okay, so I think the relationship goes through a lot of changes over the course of the series. So I don't know when in the series it was supposed to take place, because they do have cubs together.
I am super, super excited for the fact that that one has a sequel coming out in sometime in the next couple of years.
Wolf Among Us has a sequel?
Yeah.
The game or the
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Telltale, the new Telltale, has retained or re-gotten the rights to do another one, and they've decided that The Wolf Among Us is where they're going to go next. And I'm like, yes!
Interesting, because the comic book series has been done for years now. So
they understand. I think that the developers understand exactly where their audience is. The people who really like it's okay, Tales from the Borderlands was really good. The Wolf Among Us was really good. We need to succeed and wow people, so we're going to go with our best product first.
See, I actually thought that the Game of Thrones one might have been the best in terms of them all, and that's just another one where there's not really any well-developed romances, but that was one where I actually felt like some of the choices were somewhat meaningful. I mean, there are still a lot of cases where it's plot armor and, whatever you choose, nothing's going to happen, but by the end...
Did you play the whole game, or did you just play the first episode?
I played the whole game. And so by the end, you are the main character. Arguably, the main character is completely different depending on what choice you make in, I think, episode 4. Fair. And other characters can be alive or dead, depending on your actions. So that was one game where I actually felt like your choices actually mattered, which is why I think it's one of the better games.
I am hard on the Game of Thrones Telltale game because. They did such an amazing job with episode 1. They prepped it up. There's building it, and the ending of episode 1 is so good. God, good.
I was so mad. I mean, in a good way. It's what you want a game to make you feel. You want to be so incredibly pissed off at the villain.
For the kind of game that Telltale Games are trying to make, that was an amazing experience. But then there's 4 more episodes after that, and it's like, oh, it's just a slog because none of them are anywhere near as good as that.
They get you filled with rage over this character, and then it's just all about like, haha, you can't do anything. Haha, you still can't do anything. Haha, you're still impotent. And it's like, God, this is depressing. It's just
I mean, it's the Game of Thrones problem all over again because that is Game of Thrones. They did a really good job of capturing the Game of Thrones elements. But that's a lot of Telltale stuff. Tales from the Borderlands is generally regarded as one of their strongest outings, if not their strongest outing, and it does have a strong adult romantic relationship between Reese and Fiona. And my 6th one, the most recent, is J.J. McField, the missing, and J.J.'s relationship with Emily, which is the spark for the entirety of the game, and also very, very inclusive in the weirdest kind of way.
Is that the game where she dismembers herself to solve puzzles?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Which game is it? What's the name of the game?
The Missing, the Island of J.J. McField.
And yeah, like part of the gameplay is like you purposely like destroy your body, which plays into the whole mindset and everything of the game.
If you have not played that game, I give it a very high review. I did a review for it for a podcast that I'm also working on, not Rampant Discourse. Sorry, guys, I do other things too. And gave it a pretty good review there.
I'm just doing a quick little research on my own too, also that I remembered. Game I had actually forgotten. I didn't play it all the way through, and I mostly played it because Mike Patton from Faith No More did the voices of the bad guys, but the characters of what are their name, Jackie and Jenny in the Darkness, is a pretty good relation.
I haven't played that one, so I can't speak to it.
Well, like it's famous for like you can literally sit down on a couch. It's a first-person shooter game, and you can sit down on a couch and watch the entirety of the movie To Kill a Mockingbird in game, and sitting next to your girlfriend in the game. Like it was very famous for that. Like how many people sat through an entire movie in a video game? I don't know, but you could sit there on the couch with your girlfriend and watch an entire movie, and like that's a very out there thing to do in a video game, right? First of all,
they had to get the whole license for the whole movie. That's
secure the rights for the whole movie anyway. But like, yeah. I guess Paul outlawed Final Fantasy. Otherwise, another one we forgot was Cloud and Aerith.
Well, I don't think that counts.
It doesn't last long enough.
It's Cloud and Tifa all the way. Come on, I'm totally Team Tifa here.
But I did look up Game Rant's best gaming couples. Half the list is Final Fantasy. Tidus and Yuna and
that. I think what this whole thought experiment has shown is just why perhaps we like Final Fantasy as much as we do, because they're the only ones doing this. You know, these other games, I've gone through an entire, like all of my gaming history, and it's like there's not a lot of great options, but Final Fantasy is doing it again and again and again and again and again. It does really well.
And Paul, you brought up BioWare, but with the caveat that you always bring up of like, but that's actually kind of good, like that you can tailor those romances to your liking. If you know what you're doing, at least. While Final Fantasy like railroads you into like these, but on the other hand, then Final Fantasy lets them craft the story to particularly those characters. And like we said, I said Locke and Celes. That's not the only romance in Final Fantasy VI. I mean, there's so many characters in that game. That's
14 playable characters. So,
but that's the one I personally like the best. But then that game had so many incredible relationships anyway. You had Stratego and Realm as like the grandfather and granddaughter relationship and everything. It was.
Well, what I find really interesting is that I feel like you can think of any number of really good candidates for when it comes to movies or TV series for romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And we came up with, I think it's fair to say, some for video games. I think
it's super weak.
It feels super weak. But at the same time, I feel like I can come up with so many very deep relationships that are non-romantic, right? Like we already mentioned Lee and Clementine. There's Last of Us, which has, I'm completely blanking on both their names right now. But again, another like father-daughter relationship that's very strong for those who have played it. There's BioShock Infinite, another father-daughter relationship that's super strong and deep and very powerful. And I feel like there's a ton of even platonic relationships throughout. Like you can make a good case for like Gordon Freeman and Alex Vance from Half-Life, where there's really never a hint of romance between them. And I mean, Gordon never really speaks, so it's hard for there to be romance. But like it's a very strong and like relationship between two very capable heroes during the series, and it's interesting to me that video games seem to have somewhat, relatively speaking, fallen short on the well-developed romantic side of things, but have really done a great job with some of the other types of relationships between, and I guess they've often been different genders, father and daughter, for whatever reason, but like just a lot of good relationships there too, outside of romance. And I don't know if there's a reason for that or if I'm just biased, but
there's also a lot of brothers in video games.
Yeah, well, Billy and Jimmy Lee.
From Mario Brothers on, and there's a game called Two Brothers, right? Is the game Two Brothers? Is it Two Brothers?
The Tale of Two Sons.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Well, of course they're two sons. That seems redundant. But anyway.
The Little Ninja Brothers was also a game from Nintendo.
Well, they're not two sons by the end, so spoiler alert.
Uh-oh. The Wachowski sisters.
I was going to say, this is another transition.
To drag us back into Christmas, since that we are here for Christmas and beer.
Tomorrow's Christmas, guys.
So,
your stockings.
Has there been a good Christmas video game? To keep the video game, but has there been...
So like Die Hard is a good Christmas movie?
I'm going to
definitely...
I think the net has to be cast as wide as possible on this one.
The best I can do is like DLC. Like there's a Christmas episode of Saturday Morning RPG. There's a Christmas DLC-ish for Costume Quest. It's pretty weak. I've actually done a little bit of work on this because I've done some streaming for Christmas time. It's like I want something Christmas themed. There are games that happen at Christmas. There's a. I'm gonna have to look this up. Give me a second, guys. Since we can't do one tomorrow, I can't do stream research. I'm actually gonna pull my phone up for a second. I'm gonna
mention a few. Like first of all, I'm gonna say like we can't. Even though it's definitively a Christmas movie, I'm not gonna count the Home Alone video games. Those just won't count. But since I mentioned I can't remember if I mentioned it on air actually though. Dead Cells last time. One of the alternate costumes you can wear is a Santa Claus costume. They don't call it Santa Claus. They call it Reverse Thief. Because he leaves stuff in your house instead of taking stuff in you. He breaks in, but he leaves it instead of taking. But I was playing it, and one of my kids was like, "Why are you Santa and you're killing people?" I'm like, "Whatever, kids."
Whoa, you're killing people?
It's Dead Cells. That's all you do is kill. Well, you kill monsters. Sure, okay, fine. You're not killing people. It's a whole bunch of monsters. Santa will never kill people. You only kill an elf who doesn't make toys.
He does if you've been naughty, and he'll kill you.
Parasite Eve, a very good game, takes place around Christmas.
Yeah, there you go. All right, fine. It's not. I think that enters Die Hard territory, but I'll give it.
It's Die Hard territory. That's absolutely Die Hard territory.
I think we're not. No, I'm not even going to start going down. It's the Die Hard Christmas movie. We're not.
That's not the one I was thinking of, though, so I'm going to see if I can find the one that I'm thinking
of. But yeah, you're right. That I do remember a retro video game podcast played it, and that was something they brought up constantly, was that it takes place on Christmas. Or either it takes place on Christmas or Christmas Eve, one of the two. Or probably both. But.
Wait, we're talking about Parasite Eve?
Yeah, Parasite Eve.
I'm gonna venture to guess it takes place on Christmas Eve.
No. Her Eve is referring to the mitochondrial Eve. There is...
Yeah, but you're telling me they're gonna pass up the opportunity to have that kind of juxtaposition between Parasite Eve and Christmas Eve?
Maybe.
That might be another game. I don't remember. There's probably no romance in that game. But that is a Square game.
Yeah.
When did they stop being called Square Soft?
You know, it's funny.
When they bought Square Enix. When they bought
was that it? There was never a point where they were called Square. They went from Square Soft to Square Enix?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
It's funny, you said it's another Square game, and for a half a second, I was thinking of Square, the company. Like, I'm thinking as an investor here. Like the Square card reader.
No, that's like, no.
But they recently rebranded the block. So they're not even called Square anymore. So...
What a terrible rebranding, by the way.
What? Wait, what are they called now? They're called the Block?
Not
Block.
The Block.
Just
Block.
No, just Block.
Just block.
Square is still a section of the company, but they do other stuff now. They have the Cash App. They've got like cryptocurrency stuff, and so they thought people were too stuck on the whole like Square card reader. So Square, it's kind of like with Alphabet and Google, right? Google is technically
and Meta now.
The company is called and Meta. Yeah, like these are all like their parent companies above the children company. Which
so if they don't get J-Lo and license her song "Jenny on the Block" as one of their ads for the Super Bowl, I'm very disappointed.
Wow, that's a very specific set of requirements you have for Square.
Why? I mean, she was on the Super Bowl halftime show like 2 years ago.
I'm not going to be able to find this game I'm thinking of. It's so disappointing. It's so perfect for it.
I mean, there are crappy Christmas games. I was wondering if there was a good Christmas game. Because there's something like, I don't know, Santa's Christmas Adventure or something, which is like $5 at GameStop. I'm like, if you're $5 at GameStop physical, you're probably not a good game.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
So, is this a good Christmas beer?
Oh, this one?
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, that is not something I had contemplated. Yes.
Definitively. Hudson Claus says yes.
Hudson Claus says yes.
I don't think this is going to get my unpatented double thumbs up.
That's disappointing, but I understand it.
I'm not over the moon enthusiastic about it. It was good. For Christmas, yeah, I think it works as a Christmas beer. It feels like it's got some sort of like kind of like spice, holiday spice, kind of nutmeggy-ish kind of feel.
It's vaguely gingerbread.
Yeah, it's
kind of what I think of when I'm drinking it.
And it's high enough alcohol content that I don't want to drink this during a working day, all right, or after a working day, or if I have to work tomorrow. Which
good thing you don't unless you work on Christmas.
Yeah, you know that's not actually a really good point. Like as I was drinking, I'm like, ugh, this feels kind of heavy a little bit. Like I was maybe mentally knocking it a little bit, but 7.5 ABV is pretty high, and it's
solid.
It didn't taste that high, so it was for the ABV. It's pretty drinkable, and and maybe the flavor is not quite where I was hoping it would be in terms of. I don't know. I think I was hoping for a little bit more, but yeah. If I had to sit through like a uncomfortable day with the in-laws or something like that, completely hypothetically, then this might be something to sneak into the backpack and
this makes it better.
Yeah,
you want the high ABV then? Right?
Screw the eggnog. Just like I'm just on this.
This might be something I just crack open and chug. Chug 2 or 3 of these bad boys. And
why don't you tell me about your politics? Thank you.
Oh, I'd be happy to. How much time do you have?
Do you have another one of these?
Yeah, where can I get a 6-pack of these for tomorrow?
That's more of a Thanksgiving thing, but Christmas has the same problem. So.
I was mentioning this to my wife the other day. Like, I couldn't remember. Is it the day before Thanksgiving? That's the best bar day. It's like the most. There's some day before related to a holiday that is like the most trafficked bar day in the country. So I'm pretty. It might be the day before Thanksgiving, actually.
What would be the argument for Thanksgiving that you're pre-gaming for all the relatives coming?
Because you're hanging out with your relatives.
The day before Thanksgiving, you'd hang out with your relatives at the bar.
No, like you're pre-gaming for Thanksgiving.
Okay, so you're like depressed.
I gotta get through this somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here it is. Yeah. Google says Thanksgiving Eve is traditionally the busiest day for bars. Because I guess you travel that day to get to your family. You go drink so that you don't have to deal with them until the next day, I guess. I don't know.
I call BS on that. I feel like something like Super Bowl Sunday or something like that would be higher, right?
Holiday, I think. Or no, okay. No. It wasn't holiday. What is the busiest day for bars? See, have you ever, not like I've ever gone to a bar on Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah, like it's the middle of the week. It's a Wednesday by definition.
We are not the right demographic for this.
You're gonna have the next day off, but no, for me, Super Bowls have always been like going to somebody's house and drinking, not going to a bar and drinking.
I agree, but I also don't go drinking before Thanksgiving.
When you guys all left me, because you had every reason to leave me, and I didn't have anybody down in Blacksburg for a little while.
Oh.
I went to the bar for the Super Bowl.
When do we leave?
I didn't go to the bar for Thanksgiving.
Wait, what? What? Oh, because you were there after we. You were there. I was there after we graduated.
Yeah, one of our fellow classmates was down there, but he was not something who would have been very interested in drinking with me at that point. So
correct, but like I was about to say, like we would have been in Blacksburg in like January, February when the Super Bowl was on. So okay, so you're saying it was after we were.
Yeah, it was the next year. It was the next year.
Okay, I didn't realize you stayed that long.
All right, so we're talking about the beer.
It's a Dunkel. It's a double block. It is heavy and full of alcohol, and I'm feeling it and I'm loving it.
We're ready for some Reese's Pieces now.
I don't know if I'm ready for some Reese's Pieces.
We've had a lot of talk about some homosexual relationships tonight.
I will say my first sip was fantastic. Then the rest wasn't quite as good, but still, I really like this one. I want to give it a thumbs up. But
it's interesting that you say that. I feel like my last sip was just as good as my first sip, which is surprising.
So when I say that, it was like here and it came down to here and then stayed there. It wasn't like a progressive slide down. It was like it kind of came down and then just stayed there. Like that first sip was like, ooh, this might rival my Weizenbach, but no, not in the end.
I tried to be very. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't giving this too much credit for being the last beer, right? And we had high hopes for it. It's the last.
Well, thank God it's all over. No more beer tomorrow.
Well, we've been talking for 2 days already about I gotta get my double thumbs up, right? And
obviously don't have to.
And this isn't gonna get the double thumbs up. I'm not overly enthusiastic about it, but I drank it and. At first, I was like, this is a tiny bit disappointing because whatever, it's not going to get the double thumbs up. And it's a darker beer, and it's a Bavarian style. There's a lot of words on here that made me really excited about this beer.
Yes.
And even this, it's maroon and gold, which is, kind of exciting for, I don't know. I guess the cookie is not really maroon and gold, but whatever.
It has a medieval style crest, which is missing a rampant animal, but is.
If I were to judge a book by its cover, then this would seem to be a really interesting looking beer. And I'm not saying it was a bad beer by any stretch. Actually, I'm getting more respect for it the more I talk because clearly the alcohol is hitting me a little bit. The 7.5, and the fact that they were able to kind of mask it with this. Without me really noticing it is a point in its credit.
7.5%.
So, and I know it always makes me sound like I like to get drunk or something like that, but I do think the higher ABV does add something. Like the actual alcohol content does add. You think all
beer for not having alcohol. If you didn't want to have the alcohol, you'd drink alcohol free, non-alcoholic beverage, and like Amstel Light. I like Amstel Light, right? Amstel Light is actually a decent quasi beer, but. No one intentionally drinks that unless you're like the designated driver, right? That's not your choice.
Or you're like a workout person. Wasn't that their ads? Was like people would go work out and then drink Amstel Light or something for their ads?
My remembrance of the Amstel ads was, we're sorry. We didn't realize that alcohol-free, non-alcoholic beers were supposed to suck.
Oh, okay. But no, I mean, there definitely is something to. A well done high ABV is always going to be like a well done low ABV. Not just to get drunk, but there's something about the alcohol in it that
we have you don't like when you cheer.
You don't and you also don't like when you're younger, obviously, right? Like when you're younger, you don't appreciate that. I don't think it's taken me until I'm almost 41 now to appreciate that type of beer. Like when you're younger, yes, you are looking to get drunk. I'll give you that. But
and if you're looking to get drunk, this guy can help you out.
I think the real question is: would you rather have 4 Bud Lights or 2 of these bad boys?
I would.
Right.
100% two of these.
100%.
Yeah, or even just like 1.5 of these bad boys, because I guess the can's different sizes. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
right.
Like, would you want to have to, like, you know, suffer through? Or no, I don't want to say suffer, because Bud Light, whatever, it is what it is, and it fulfills its purpose. But
which is at ballparks, and that's it.
Which is when you eat cheap beer at ballparks. But yeah, if you it's
a ballpark. It's not cheap.
Oh,
it's cheaper than getting something good, though. So
yeah. So all right, should we give our thumbs up, thumbs down? Our last one for the entire
last
calendar?
One. Oh
this
man,
is deserving of the wedding ring. All right.
Okay, wedding ring.
All right.
Everyone's wedding ring. All right.
Ah, my ring keeps turning.
All right. 3, 2, 1. All right. Ending on a high note. Look at that.
We end on a high note, which
unsurprising. You know, this was clearly a good beer.
Yeah, like so to the point about Satan's beer there, where like I maybe held it to too high a standard. This met my expectations for a Doppelbock Dunkel.
Yeah, I mean, I think
so. You had expectations coming in, and it still met it.
It still met them, yeah. So I don't regret my thumbs down for Satan then.
If anything, this probably got docked a little bit because I came into this with pretty high expectations based on a lot of the words. Like I said it before, a lot of the words in the can were like, "Ooh, this sounds like it'd be good," and the fact that it wasn't disappointing, that it actually met a lot of those expectations, probably means it's a pretty good beer. I enjoyed it well enough. It was a high ABV was always a plus, but also like it was good. Like this is definitely something that if I ordered at a bar, I'd probably be feeling pretty good after the first drink. I'm like, yeah, give me another one of those, and I will have to get a couple of waters before I drive home.
Well, and I think this is I forget which one of you asked the question about at Christmas. Like this could totally be something at the end cap at the liquor store with all the other, you know, Christmas ales and all those like that. And I would totally pick this up out of all those.
Yeah, this is something I would seek out at at Total Wine or whatever. I would say, you know, do you have any of this? Because I'd like to get a 4-pack or maybe even a 6-pack of this.
The thing about Dunkels tends to be that they are maltier and sweeter. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's really interesting about this beer is how it isn't so overly sweet. You know, it's got some sweetness underneath. But it's not as sweet. We had a couple, the Dunkel Weiss. Oh my goodness, that was sweet. Like Paul described it as cream soda, I think. And so that was a very, very sweet beer. This one, it has all of the high notes of a dark beer without having to be so sickly sweet. Like they managed to meld the malt with their hops perfectly, and that meant that the alcohol that the malted barley gives them, the yeast is like, yeah, there's a lot of sugar here. We're having a good time. We're gonna have a good time because of that, and I love that.
I think that plays into my whole. I keep coming back to the high ABV. Yeah, the Dunkel Weiss beer that you're talking about was 5. This is 2.5% higher. I think that's kind of hit. The alcohol is what's cutting the sweetness as well a little bit too. That helps.
Maybe they just fermented it longer. Maybe the Dunkel Weiss needed to be fermented longer. Give that bacteria, give that fungus, give that yeast. Yes,
yeast.
Yeast is a fungus. Give that fungus yeast a little more time, and maybe me a little bit less.
I was gonna say, come on, guys.
Go ahead, guys.
Drink some more. You guys need to drink some more 7.5%.
Woo! I'm feeling good.
I'm fine.
My whole bottom shelf of my fridge is like 8% and above. Come on.
Listen, I am completely fine here. Andrew's the one that's embarrassing himself by whatever the hell he's talking about.
But yeah, no, this is. I think I'm glad you guys. Who asked if it was a Christmas? Was that Paul or was that you, Andrew? I'm glad you asked that because yes, this was a perfect one to end it on. Like, even if I didn't like it, it fits Christmas.
Yeah, this seems like a beer you'd leave out for Santa, right? So, I mean, he doesn't have to drive really. It's the reindeer that drives.
It's the reindeer, yeah.
So
okay.
I mean, he can have one of these, at every kid's house.
All right.
And
I'm gonna leave it out for Santa.
All right. If you can get your hands on one.
For Santa Hudson.
Santa Claus.
Wow, Santa's gonna be like, they left pretzels instead of cookies. What the hell?
All right, well,
you're enjoying it now, Santa.
Do we have anything else we want to say before we wrap up our epic 24 straight days of beer advent calendars? I don't know if we're gonna do a recap episode. So, do either of you want to say any closing words about what we've experienced over?
I was gonna say, I feel like we should have left a little bit more time to have some sort of closing words, but.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, man.
God bless you, everyone.
All right, Tiny Tim.
He's very small. And on that note, you can't stop the discourse.